Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is our seventh lab that is related to chapter 7, which is basically GIS Data Geometric Transformation. In this lab, we will follow a sequence as we will learn what georeferencing is and how can we rectify basically a scanned map and vectorization, and we will perform some image to map transformation, and we will see Google Map georeferencing techniques. First of all, we have to understand all these terms one by one so that we can have a clear concept about what basically georeferencing is and why it is used in a GIS environment. So starting off with georeferencing, when you take any picture, for example, if you take a snapshot from Google Map uh, of any area, if you open that snapshot in some GIS software, so GIS software will never recognize the true coordinates which actually are visible in Google Maps, right, or in Google Earth. So in order to get the coordinates of each point in an image, right, so we need to perform georeferencing. So georeferencing, it is basically we assign the true coordinates x and y, latitude and longitude, to any sheet. That is basically a georeferencing. So the first task in today's lab, if you open the chapter 7 of the Chang book, the first task is basically to georeference and rectify a scanned map. So first thing you have to do is to open the ArcMap environment. You have to launch the ArcMap, go to the search tab, type ArcMap and click open. Once this window is opened, you have to add your dataset. For example, for this exercise, we have a dataset named as hoid.mtn.tif file. Now, once I edit this TIFF file, uh, what this data is about, I will just zoom into this portion and you will see that it is basically a survey of soil which is done by some person, and the date has been mentioned and compiled by has been mentioned. So this is basically a scanned file which actually needs to be georef. Now here you can see stick points. For one is over here, one is over here, and one is at this corner and one is at this corner. So these tick points will be used to georefer. Now what actually this means, that if you go to the layer, go to the properties section of the layer and change the units to decimal degree or degree minute second, apply and OK. Now once I move my cursor, it displays some coordinate at this right side. Now these coordinates, they are not actually the true coordinates. So in order to assign, in order to get the true coordinates of this file, I will perform georeferencing, and that is basically I will assign a known value to this point, a known value to this tick point, and a known value to this tick point and this tick point. When I will assign four corners a true value, the portion in between will actually get the true coordinates. Then I can perform my measurements, then I can perform my other stuff related to GIS on this scanned map. Otherwise, till now it is of no use because it does not have the true coordinate information. So this is basically a concept of georeferencing, that we assign the corner points, the true coordinates which we have from the Excel or from GPS or from Google Maps or from Google Earth, and then the rest of the things, they actually get the true coordinates and we can perform calculations on that. So this is the basic description of georeferencing. I hope the concept of georeferencing is now clear. Now let's move on to perform this task practically. In order to perform this task, if you open the Word file or the chapter 7 lab part from the Chang book, uh, the first thing it asks you to project your scanned file into NAD 1927 UTM zone 11 and coordinate system. So just open the ArcMap environment and see the properties. Now in the properties, go to the source tab and see that the special reference has been defined or not defined. In my case, I have defined it using define projection tool, and I have specified NAD 1927 UTM zone 11N. If your file does not have any special reference, what you have to do is to go to the search tab and type define projection. Define projection data management tool will open. In this case, input dataset, specify your file, and in the coordinate system just select and type here NAD 1927 UTM zone 11N and click OK. So it will be assigned the coordinate system. Once you have the coordinate system, the next thing what you have to do is to take the points. In order to take the points, we need to have a georeferencing toolbar in ArcMap environment, which here I have opened up already. If this tool is not visible, you just have to move your cursor anywhere and just right click, and by right clicking you will see that there is a section georeferencing. You just have to check this and the tool will open. For example, now it is not visible, so I will just click georeferencing toolbar and the tool will be opened up. Once the tool has been opened up, what you have to do is uh, to take the points, control points. So for control points, you just have to open the Word file, and it says you to add select the control points from the top four corners. So in this picture you can see that this is ID1, ID2, ID3 and ID4. You just have to add the control points. So in order to add the control points, this is basically the icon of adding the control points. Now we will perform georeferencing. Uh, the first thing I have to do is to select this add control point icon. Once this icon has been selected, you have to zoom into this, the first tick, which is over here. You just have to left click and then right click. So here is an option that is to input X and Y. Now in this option, you have to input your X. You just have to copy this value and you just have to paste it over here. And similarly in Y, you just have to copy this value and paste this value in Y and click OK. So I have actually selected the first tick, right? Now in order to select the second tick, we just have to move our cursor and just left click and then right click. Now here you have to enter your second value, which is in row 2. You have to add the X and then you have to add the Y value and click OK. So here you can see that I have added 2 ticks. Now in order to add the third, just have to zoom to the thirds. Just make sure that you are selecting the correct tick. Now you have to add your third tick over here. Just have to copy you just have to input in X and Y. So I have now added 3. Now let's add the last part, that is the fourth tick. Here it is. Now in fourth tick you can see that the values now they will be very much closer. Like in this it is 850.1480. So just change this one, and in the y value just copy this and click OK. So here you have now added the 4 values. You can see the 4 ticks like you have actually seen in this Word file. So when you assign the 4 ticks, the next thing is to see the RMS error from georeferencing toolbar. So this is basically a georeferencing palette. Here you can see the viewer and view link table. If you open this table, and you can see in this table you have some residuals, you have some x source, y source, x map, y map, etc. And then you have order of transformation, which order you want actually, and total RMS error, it should be closer to 1, approaches to 1. In our case it is 3. If that is greater than 5, so you need to revise this. For the time being, let's go on with 3. 3 is acceptable, it's okay. And the last step of this is to click rectify icon from georeferencing. Now here you have taken the 4 control points. After taking the 4 control points, you just have to click rectify, and in rectify you have to specify the cell size, etc., other values, which in our case, let's select by default all the values and click save. Now our output image, that will be basically rectified. So we will have the true coordinates measurement anywhere on our map, right? So this is the process of rectification. Now once the process has been completed, you can see that when I move my cursor, it is now showing me the true coordinates, not the false coordinates, right? So I have performed the image georeferencing. Just to repeat, I have added the scanned file, I have added 4 control points, and then at last I have selected rectify icon, rectify button to rectify my image. So this is our first task that has been completed. Related to the first task, the next thing, if you go to the Google Map, search maps.google.com, and you will go to any area on Google Maps and just take a snapshot of that area. For example, I have this area displayed over now, right? So I just click satellite. Now in this satellite view, I am taking a snapshot or sniping tool, right, of this area. Now if I open this image in my ArcMap environment, so I can georef that image as well by noticing the control points, right? How to note that? For example, I want this to be my control point. If I click on this and just click right click and select parts here, so you can see the coordinates, they are displayed, right? So if you just click these coordinates, you can copy these coordinates, right? So instead of x and y, you can just paste these values when you add your image over here. So this is basically you can perform georeferencing using Google Map or Google Map Imagery, right? So let's perform a small task related to that so that our concept can be clear. For example, here is my imagery, this one. I just save as desktop. Now I go to back to ArcMap and add my data from desktop. Now this data set, I just remove Whiteman. So this is my data set that is displayed over here. Now I will add control points, right? So for example, I want control point of this point, so I will click input x and y. Now in this x and y, right, I will assign it some coordinate system first, like define projection WGS 1984. In this section Y, I can take the values from here. For example, if that is the point, you just have to click here and you can get the coordinates displayed over here. So you can just copy these X and Y values in your ArcMap environment to get the image georef. So this is basically our task, that was Google Map georeferencing techniques. So I hope now we are clear with image georeferencing a scanned map and georeferencing a Google Map imagery. Both of these are same methods. In Google Map, you just have to take a snapshot of your imagery and then you have to just right click and select what's here. You will get the coordinate of that point and enter those points in the imagery to make georeferencing proper. Thank you. That's all for the first section, that is image georeferencing. Now we'll move on to the next. Now moving on to the next task. In this task, we have to add our rectified height empty and TIFF file. Once our TIFF file has been added up over here, the next task is to uh, go to the properties section of this file, click properties, and in properties you just have to go to unique values and select 0 and 1. So assign some bright color to the 0 section. For example, I will assign red here and click apply and OK. Now you can see that here you can see some small dots. Just zoom to these dots, so you will see that you will have a scanned file that is being displayed. Now we need to get a shape file out of this scanned map. So in order to get the shape file from this scanned map, what we have to do is to uh, create a new shape file. First, go to the Arc catalog, and in Arc catalog you just have to go to the any folder and point to new, and in the new you just have to select the shape file, and once you click on the shapefile, you will specify the shapefile name and the type as polyline, because we want to trace these polylines, and specify the coordinate system here. For example, polyline, let's name it to lines, and assign the coordinate system UTM zone 11, which we are already added that coordinate system to the OIT-MTN file, and click OK. So once your shapefile has been created, you just have to start your editing, right? Click on start editing. You just have to click lines and click continue. uh, Once your editing has been started, you have to go to the customize section and select ArcScan toolbar, and in ArcScan toolbar you will see that you will have vectorization, and in vectorization you will have generate features button. You just have to select generate features and click OK, and you just have to specify a template of lines, and once you click these lines, your scanned map will now be converted to a vector file. For example, I just remove this OIT-MTN file and close this catalog. Now here you can see that I have all these files, lines, they are now actually scanned into a vector file which is being displayed over here. So let's take a recap of this task. What we have done is we have added OIT-MTN.tif file. We went to the properties section, and in properties section we selected unique values and specified 0 and 1 and clicked OK. So we zoomed into those small red dots, and after zooming in we created a new shapefile by going to our catalog and browsing to any folder. We created a new shapefile, and we selected a type of lines, polyline, and after selecting we started our editing from start editing, and then we selected ArcScan, and in ArcScan we have selected generate features. So generate features tool, it scanned all those small dots into proper shapefile lines. So this is our second task, that was basically using ArcScan to vectorize the raster lines. So we had a raster map, we scanned that raster map using the ArcScan toolbars, and at the end we had a shapefile which displayed proper lines, right? So this is basically scanning, and very important task when you have some old maps and you want some lines to be generated out of those old maps. in GIS environment. So this tool will be helpful. So this is the all about the second task. Now we will be moving on to the third task. Now for the next task, what we have to do is to add satellite image, which is of Spot. And you can see in this image we have river and roads, etc., and some urban area. So we can actually zoom it to this layer to see different features or different classes here, and we can also change the color ramp to different values, right? So we will have different features visible. So just make it, I want my roads to be visible, so let's use this one so my roads can be easily visible. Now I have a data that is of roads.shp file which has been provided to you in this data. Now you can see that roads, they are at different place, and spot imagery, that is at different place. Now these roads, they need to be overlaid over this imagery, right? So that's basically our task of image to map, right? So we need to perform this image to map transformation. So what we have to do actually is to uh, again perform georeferencing. Now in this georeferencing technique, we have to add the control points, right? For example, if you zoom into this road and select this junction where my cursor actually is now, one. Now the next, once you click left clicked from the mouse, you have this one displayed over here. Now go to roads and zoom to layer and select this vertex, one, right? Endpoint that is displayed, and if you click one OK, now your road layer will be displayed actually over here. Now you have to adjust it by taking accurate points and a good number of points. For example, this is my roads layer, let's check it over here, and this is my spot imagery displayed over here. Now by taking one point, my roads, they actually are dragged from that point to this point. Now you have to take other points, right? So to make things accurate, you just have to take multiple number of points. For example, this is if point id 2, and in roads this is the point id 2 that you have identified. So you just have to click this, and your roads will be adjusted, right? So this is the method basically of performing image to map transformation. The more accurate you have, the more accurate roads you have identified, the more accurate points you take, the more accurate transformation that will be displayed. So you just have to take one click on satellite image, and the second click on the uh, line file that is of roads. So this is all for today's lab. And just to have a revision, we learned today what is image georeferencing, and we performed image georeferencing. Then we performed used ArcScan to vectorize the raster lines. Then we perform an image to map transformation, and with the first task we saw that how you can actually georeference a Google Map imagery. I hope these concepts are now clear and this lab is clear. So you just have to perform it practically. You have this chapter 7 Chang book manual with you. You can download the data as well from internet. You have this book available over internet. So you have to perform this lab, and in case of queries, please let me know. Thank you.